Michael, thank you so much for making the trip. We're actually here in an airplane hangar, which is why you can hear an airplane landing outside. But we're putting Los Angeles back on the Bitcoin map, aren't we?
Go LA! LA is Bitcoin Central.
You know, there's a place called Temple City. It's not too far from here. And there's a place called Santa Barbara, also not too far from here. And that's the last two places that Hal Finney lived. And as far as we can tell, that was pretty integral to the founding of Bitcoin. So this should be Bitcoin territory.
Feels orange to me.
Well, yeah, we've certainly had incredible weather. Very lucky the last couple of days after ungodly amounts of rain brought by the people who are visiting from Seattle and London. Thanks for that earlier in the week. Michael, from the past couple of days, what's something that sticks out to you as just particularly memorable about being out here?
I love the energy. I'm just extraordinarily pleased to see all the excitement and enthusiasm. I've met a ton of people here that have told me about their Bitcoin journey. A lot of times on Twitter, when somebody agrees with you, the little like increment just increments by +1, but you don't know if that's a real person or that's a bot or who knows what that is. So when you actually meet a person in real life that says, oh, I saw what you said, or I saw what you did, or that inspired me, to get into Bitcoin, or that gave me the confidence to hold through a difficult time, I think that makes it all worthwhile. So I'm just really happy to have met each one of you and to have had this experience.
Yeah. The class of 2020 was a heck of a class. In fact, our last two speakers on stage, Lynn and Michael, both came in the class of 2020. We got a lot of new people into a Bitcoin-adjacent territory in the bull run last year, and they are now seeing the signs of why perhaps there's something actually going on in Bitcoin that the other stuff doesn't really have to offer. Now, this is kind of an opportunity to strike hard, strike fast, and have no mercy. Did I get that right? Anyway, I love that show. Cobra Kai is awesome. We actually tried to get William Zabka out here, by the way, but couldn't find his agent. When you think about people that are getting into Bitcoin now in 2022, a couple of years later, and then getting into next year, what are some of the opportunities that you see, directions that the industry may take, things that may develop, things that need to be worked on? Just kind of give us a little bit of a forecast of how you see things developing over the next few years.
Well, first of all, what I want to say is when I came in the class of 2020, all the Bitcoiners from the class of 2014 and the class of 2012 and the class of 2016 used to snicker at me on Twitter behind my back, speculating about when I was going to rage quit or fear quit or throw in the towel. And they were laying odds. Saylor's only going to last another 3 months. Justine used to chuckle about whether I would get driven out. I said, Justine, I can hear you talking, right? On Twitter, everybody can hear you. So, and then they say, well, the class of 2020, they got it so easy. Yeah, they didn't live through the block size wars, or they didn't live through the difficult times during the decade. Well, what I have to say to the class of 2022 is, you guys have it so easy. Anybody getting into Bitcoin right now has it so easy, because now I've counted. I've gone through 3 cycles, 3 boom and bust crashes, and I'm, for all the OGs in the room, today I tweeted that, starting to feel like a Bitcoin veteran. There's still a lot of people that are skeptical about me, but I will have arrived when the Bitcoin OGs say, I guess we're stuck with Saylor from this point forward. And as for what I think now, look, the asset class is seasoned. When in 2020, there were a lot of questions. There were questions about whether or not this was going to be embraced by regulators, whether this would be banned. A lot of people, there are a lot of legitimate leaders in the United States who said this is going to be banned. They would either say it's going to be banned because it's a Ponzi, they were the deniers, or they said this is going to be banned. Jamie Dimon said it's just too good to be true, so it'll be banned. So there were the people that didn't understand it, and there were the people that understood it but thought it was too good, and so the government would take it away. And then when the China crackdown took place, everybody said, we see China banned it, and so that proves that it's probably going to get taken away. And here we are in 2022, and what you have is a fight between the chair of the SEC and the chair of the CFTC to see who gets to regulate it or who gets to endorse it. And what's become very clear is you've had the head of the CFTC say this is a commodity. You've had the chair of the SEC say this is a commodity. You have had the Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, recite the legend of Satoshi in a speech at American University. Right? Satoshi, a person or persons figured out how to transfer value without an intermediary. We now see all the regulators in the Western world have embraced this as an asset class. We've had the chair of the SEC educate the entire working group, the entire cabinet, and most of Congress as the definition of a commodity, an asset without an issuer, over and over and over again. So the last 24 months have brought mainstream adoption and legitimacy to Bitcoin, and it wasn't there in the middle of 2020. In the middle of 2018 and 2017, we didn't know whether the forks were going to work or if you could fork Bitcoin, and we hadn't settled the basic principle that this was immutable and it should be power to the people and it should not be hijacked by the exchanges or hijacked by everybody that has a decent idea to fix it or improve it. But I think, Len has said this, and I've said it too. I think the outcome of the block size wars was really critical to the success of Bitcoin as the world's greatest monetary asset. So if you were around during the block size wars, and if you fought on the right side of the block size wars, then you're really the OG. You guys should give yourself a hand. There's no way that I would be here, that we would be here, that we would have an avalanche of institutional adoption without the sacrifices that were made during the block size wars and without the principled fight. And it was a very principled fight that makes the difference. And today, what you have is you have a raft of regulators, that have said a commodity is an asset without an issuer. There is only one digital commodity. There is only one crypto asset network that is lacking an issuer, and that leaves 22,000 other things. And I'm going to quote someone. The vast majority of those other things are securities. And that's politically correct speech for they're all securities. You have a commodity. You have an example set by Satoshi, a principled example. All the other crypto bros that are waiting for clarity and guidance, and they want the people at the library that want to understand how you create a commodity. Well, Satoshi showed you how you create a commodity. You have a principled example. It's in front of your face. It's been endorsed by every thoughtful, principled person of integrity that's studied the space. And so we arrive in the middle of 2022, and the question that we wondered, will this be banned, has been answered. No, this is not being banned. This is being embraced. Will it be hacked? No, it has not been hacked. No one can hack it. And in fact, The Bitcoin mining network is approaching 300 exahash. It's the most powerful computer network in the world. It's the most powerful crypto network in the world. And when people ask what backs Bitcoin, the answer is a crypto hashing network that would require 3.5 Earths worth of energy to 50% attack with conventional cloud computing from the best GPU companies in the world. So we've reached a point where it is embraced, it is not hacked, it is not going to be hacked, it is backed. And can it be copied? Yeah, it's been copied 20,000 times and they've all failed. And if you want to copy it, you have a simple roadmap. You just need to have an ethical launch by a founding team that takes no monetary interest in the asset. You need to give it to hundreds of millions of people. You need to back it with 300 exahash and 3.5 Earths worth of hash energy. And you need to avoid corrupting it with all of your silly ideas and youthful exuberance and all of your little functional aspirations and all of your other attempts to like accomplish something or do something that you read about last week on a message board. And so that's where we are today. You want to talk about where we're going?
I do, yes.
Okay, so
Please tell us more. Easiest job in the business right here.
First, we got to extract ourselves from our dysfunctional relationship with the rest of the crypto industry. And then we're taken over. The extraction part is, well, the crypto bros are helping us with that, right? They're helping. When we try to explain the difference between a centralized staked token and a decentralized proof of work token, we now have a few better examples, right? I think the meltdown of Terra and the meltdown of Luna and the meltdown of the Wildcat exchanges, the meltdown of FTT, the meltdown of FTX, all of those has put the fragility and the defect in architecture of the crypto industry front and center. The regulators have been rousted out of bed, to go on television to answer questions. Congress has been lit up. You're going to see every agency thinking about this. You're seeing mainstream media writing about this. The Wall Street Journal has got story after story after story after story after story. And unlike writing stories that, well, crypto is like Bitcoin except more energy efficient, that was the story a while ago. The stories now are, well, and you saw it when I was on CNBC, I said, well, BTC is not FTT, and every one of the anchors nodded and said, yeah, you got that right. It's pretty obvious why. So the meltdown of the crypto ecosystem is educating an entire generation of mainstream journalists, mainstream investors, mainstream regulators, and policymakers. And they understand that now they have to do something, and the regulation that's going to come is going to stop the scams, it's going to stop the self-dealing, it's going to provide a framework by which people start to understand the difference between an ethical, economically sound, technically sound asset and a fair, equitable, principled approach versus an unethical, uneconomically sound, untechnically sound, unregistered security. So I think that that's a big part of what's going on right now. I think another big part of what's going on right now is the other side of this, which is investors in the mainstream are going to understand, based upon results, why a digital commodity is a better idea than a digital security. And that's happening in front of our face. I also think that regulators are going to have to move. They're going to move much faster. And as they move much faster, they're going to lay down expectations of the registration process to become a digital security, a digital currency, a digital exchange, especially those three. Those are going to be hot buttons. And as that happens, what you're going to see is that 98% of the stuff in the crypto ecosystem is going to shake out. There's going to be a few strong players that will go through the registration process, and they will grow up to be a registered, fully disclosed currency, like a Circle or a Tether will have to become registered and regulated. There may be a few digital securities. There'll be a massive fight over what that means and what you can do with it. The digital exchanges, both the crypto exchanges and the DeFi exchanges, will have to register, and this entire Wild West environment will start to dissipate. It'll be like the meteorite that hit the Earth, 80 million years ago, and a lot of stuff will get wiped out. A few things will rise out of the crypto ecosystem that'll be cleaned up, and then a lot more mainstream actors will enter this space. Mainstream investors, mainstream banks, mainstream financial providers, registered companies, and the entire industry will take on a new character. And now, let's talk about the moving forward. Well, first, the ideas. The crypto industry has some good ideas. One good idea is a digital commodity, the ability to move something of value point to point between 20 billion computers at the speed of light and program it with final settlement. That's a good idea. It has not nearly been fully realized. At the point when 8 billion people are swapping value back and forth, and at the point where millions, if not tens of millions of websites are swapping value back and forth at high frequency, and I mean like 100 times a second, 1,000 times a second, million times an hour, billion times an hour. When that happens, we'll have realized the potential of a digital commodity, because that is the true internet of money, money over IP. And Bitcoin is the first asset that could serve as a digital commodity, and Lightning is the first open protocol that we've seen, open, permissionless, ethical protocol that has the transaction speed to traffic digital commodity. And of course, as we know, a digital commodity is something of value that moves through space. A digital scarcity is even better than a digital commodity. A digital scarcity is an absolute capped commodity, 21 million forever, right? If Bitcoin had been built without the halving protocol, and it just kept adding 3 or 4% of the supply for the next 1,000 years, and it was otherwise distributed in an ethical fashion, it would be a digital commodity, but it wouldn't be a digital scarcity. In the absence of the real Bitcoin, it would be the best idea right now. But in the presence of the real Bitcoin in a market, the digital scarcity would actually get the majority of the money for long-term store of value. And the digital commodity would actually just be a short-term, convenient, maybe medium of exchange. It might be similar to like gold and silver, where gold demonetized silver, and silver couldn't hold its monetary premium. In any event, that digital commodity, that was a good idea. Digital scarcity is a world-shaking singularity idea. But the other ideas, and the other ideas that the crypto industry worked on were a digital currency, and the most successful manifestation of digital currency is Tether. And the idea that people in Lebanon want some dollars, and people in Argentina want some dollars, and people in Nigeria want some dollars. And the only way you get dollars is with a credit card on a Western bank. And so for the billions of people that don't have a credit card in a Western bank, they don't get dollars. And you go to your local bank, you don't get an account. And if you do get an account, they steal your money. And if you have dollars in a bank in Argentina or in Lebanon, when the banks freeze, they will devalue your dollars, convert to local currency, and freeze it or steal it. So the second this other big idea is digital currency moving on 8 billion Android and iPhones between 100 million websites at the speed of light. And that's a mega idea. In the near term, it's a $10 trillion idea. And the reason that people use Tron or Ethereum or any of these other networks is it was easier to move digital dollars around, and Bitcoin didn't support digital dollars on the Lightning Network. So a lot of the energy came from digital currency that we didn't support in our ecosystem. If you put those digital dollars on Lightning and you secure Lightning with the Bitcoin network, that $1 trillion demand will be met on the Bitcoin network, and then it'll become a $10 trillion demand. And as Bitcoin is becoming a $10 trillion network, that digital currency network will become a multi-trillion dollar network as well. And both of those will spread to all 8 billion people. And what will happen is they will squeeze out the local fiat currencies. Everybody on Earth, they want to trade cross borders in dollars. Everybody. And if you talk to the people in the digital currency industry, they will say that the demand for the dollar is 100x higher than the digital euro. And the demand for the next one is 0.1%. So it's like 98% to 1% to 0.1% to nothing, long tail. So a lot of the crypto ecosystem has been fueled by demand for digital currency. The other thing that people want is they want digital tokens. It's like the musicians, the actors, the artists, they want to monetize their brand. And they're not evil people, they're not unethical people. They're people like Prince that said, look, the music record labels hijacked my image and I'm a slave to the record labels and I want to get my brand back. And so that audience of 100,000 major creators and millions of mid-level creators, they would love to tokenize their brand, and they actually went to the crypto ecosystem to do it because you couldn't do it on the Bitcoin base layer and there was no Lightning protocol to do it. And so they brought their notoriety and their marketing cachet to the other cryptos, where then they were monetizing some unregistered security token. And so the moral hazard is to try to do a good thing in the wrong way. Giving dollars to Lebanese is a good thing. On a altcoin, right, is a bad thing. Giving a token to a celebrity or an artist is a good thing, but doing it on an unregistered security is a bad thing. Creating a digital security, like I want to spin up a security, I want to do it in a week or 2 weeks. I don't want to take $25 million up front and spend $20 million a year to maintain it, and that's the old way. That's how MicroStrategy does it. I have an army of lawyers and accountants. If you could do it quick and easy, orders of magnitude quick and easy, there's a place to create a digital security for the local bakery, a digital security for a small, mid-sized company. Why can't 1 million entrepreneurs create their own digital security and sell it? Well, right now, because they don't have $50 million, right? The barrier to entry to sell equity has been too high. So the idea is empower someone to create a digital security. But the way to do it is unethical when you do it as an unregistered security manipulated in an unregistered exchange or an unregulated exchange. So if you look at all these ideas, digital tokens, digital securities, even a digital exchange, why can't I trade Apple stock on Saturday afternoon? Why is it that if you have Apple stock, your bank can actually lend it out and get yield, but you can't? You have no property rights in your equity if it's on a traditional 20th century bank. They have the property rights. They can lend it, they can get yield on it. You can't trade it, you can't get a loan on it from someone outside of your country. They have a monopoly on lending, a monopoly on yield, a monopoly on custody, and they only work bankers' hours from 9:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. So they don't work 80% of the time. So the idea of a digital exchange that gives you property rights, that works all the time, that doesn't charge you 100x more, that allows you to lend and borrow, these are good ideas. The problem in crypto, Corey, is they're all good ideas executed in a technically unsound fashion, in an ethically unsound fashion, and in economically unsound fashion. So the next step for us is clear out all of the unsound practices in the crypto industry and bring the good ideas to Bitcoin on top of Lightning, so that you should be able to run your exchanges via Lightning, your tokens via Lightning, your securities via Lightning. You should be able to run your currencies via Lightning. And why is it technically sound? Because it's channel-based. It's like a shared nothing, infinitely scalable architecture where only the value in the channel is at risk. It's just an obviously better way to give functionality to 8 billion people. Technically sound. Every other crypto chain is technically defective, unstable, unscalable, and to an engineer you could see that. So not only is it technically sound, Lightning's gas is Satoshis. So you're using a commodity, actually a scarcity, but an ethical commodity as the gas fee, not an unregistered security. Therefore, you're not manipulating the token to run the network. And it's economically sound because it's based upon Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is the only digital scarcity, and Bitcoin has got the integrity and security to last 100 years. So what I would say to everybody in the audience, and especially the class of 2022, we have given you a good entry point into Bitcoin. We have answered the question of technology by showing you that the world's greatest decentralized technology is Lightning on Bitcoin. And you could launch 10,000 companies and solve 100,000 use cases in an ethically, economically sound, technically sound way. And you should just look at the first decade of crypto experiment was everybody showing you cool stuff and doing it in a wrong way. And the next decade is let's do all the cool stuff in the right way, in a way that build it to last.
Okay, so we took a little bit of a hit on price this week. Bitcoin still trades for dollars, and we love to see number go up, and we do believe that Bitcoin is on its way to becoming a large global store of value. We just kind of talked a lot about where it's going from a technology standpoint, the Bitcoin network. What are some of the ways, I'm not going to make you give a price prediction or even a timing, I just kind of want to think about what is your mental framework at this stage for how you think about the development of Bitcoin as a global store of value?
I think that if you look at Bitcoin right now, it's going to be driven by institutional adoption as an asset, and it's also going to be driven by technology utility, and it's also going to be driven by macroeconomic winds. So when you look at the next 4 to 8 years, the institutional adoption is driven by the utterances of the chair of the CFTC, the SEC, by FASB accounting, the fair value accounting adoption, by the adoption by the FDIC. Decisions, if you look at BNY Mellon, if you look at BlackRock, if you look at Fidelity, if you look at, let's take Bank of America, pretty big bank. The joke I used to tell is when I decided to buy Bitcoin in 2020, I told my broker at Merrill Lynch, which is a division of Bank of America, I said, I think I want to buy Bitcoin. Can you sell it to me? And he said, I can't even talk about it. I get fired. Okay, and I said, okay, you sure? He said, we don't cover it. I can't talk about it. We're afraid of it. I said, okay, well, I want to wire $175 million somewhere else. So I wired the money, you know, and I bought the Bitcoin, and I still have the Bitcoin. Not one Satoshi would I sell. Let me tell you how serious I am. When I had to like wire the million Satoshis for the meme competition, I was like, I have to buy this stuff because there's no way I want to be short Bitcoin when I'm giving it away or paying it. So I did that. 2 years go by, and just last week, my secretary calls me. She says, hey, Merrill Lynch sent a bunch of documents over and they want you to sign them. And I said, what? I didn't ask for anything. She said, well, you have to sign these documents so that you can buy Bitcoin with Bank of America, and they want you to sign them now. I said, okay. So now, you know, they wouldn't sell it to me, and now they're jamming it down my throat. Like, so that's like a leak for you guys. Like, presumably, if Merrill Lynch is going to all their clients saying, fill this out, I think the Bank of America has embraced Bitcoin. Big deal. So for store of value, when these big, you know, the offshore banks, right? Celsius is a bank. BlockFi is a bank, FTX is a bank, Voyager is a bank. They're not going to cross the chasm and continue with us in the next decade. They're going to be replaced with JP Morgan and Bank of America and BNY Mellon and Fidelity. And that's going to go a long way toward institutional adoption and driving Bitcoin as a store of value. I think the other thing is the explosion of Lightning. I described this as, in 1991, you had TCP/IP and we had the internet, but not many people used it. In 1994, you had the Netscape browser, and that was the killer app for the internet. And pretty soon you had 100 million people download that browser, and it caught fire. Well, we are like 1991, 92 in money over the internet, money over IP. And in my opinion, there's going to be a couple of killer apps. On the consumer side, a killer app that's like a Lightning wallet that moves digital dollars and BTC and swaps in and out of local currency. When you can move the peso, the dollar, and the BTC in the hands of anybody in Argentina, I don't know why every adult in Argentina wouldn't download that, right? And so that'll go to billions of people. So the killer app for Lightning is coming. We just, you know, obviously it's a work in progress. We got to keep improving the protocol. We got to keep refining it. But when that happens, you're going to see hundreds of millions and then billions of people downloading these applications. My firm's working on an application to monetize any website so that you could basically say, hey, come fill out an application form to be a credit card customer or to be an insurance customer. And if you fill out that form or that survey, we'll give you a Lightning wallet and we'll fill it with 1 million Satoshis. And you just put that out on a tweet, you get 800,000 people to hit your website, 800,000 Lightning wallets spin up, and you click on it, it gives you a barcode, you scan it, and the Satoshis flow to any open Lightning wallet in the world. We're going to onboard hundreds of thousands and millions of people when those kind of applications get going. That's going to create massive demand for Bitcoin and massive enthusiasm for this and change the narrative. That'll be the second driver, right? And the third driver, and again, this is where the politicians are going to help us out. They're going to keep printing money, right? You know, you think we're tightening momentarily in the U.S., but they're not going to tighten in the rest of the world. They're going to print money in every single country. All their currencies are going to continue to weaken. You know, the Fed took us into a steep nosedive, nearly crashed the currency when they took the interest rates from 280 basis points to 180 to 5 basis points on the 1 year. And then they pulled up and they brought the interest rate from 12 basis points up to 470 basis points on a 1-year treasury in 12 months. And it's kind of like that strafing run in Maverick when the guy goes down in the valley, nearly crashes, and pulls up and pulls 10 Gs and just about rips the wings off the plane. And that's what we're doing, except we're doing it with the entire $500 trillion economy right now. And we've got to the point where the pilots are blacking out. Okay? We just saw it with Liz Truss in the UK, where they pulled up, the interest rate got a 5 handle. First they fired the Chancellor of the Exchequer, then they fired the Prime Minister, right? And that was a lesson to every other politician, and you can imagine Jerome Powell and the rest are looking, they're like, I don't think the economy of the world will take much more of the pulling up. They're going to have to take their hand off the stick, loosen up a bit, otherwise they're going to crash every single economy. And as they do it, we're going to see more inflation. That inflation is going to continually be a marketing driver. And the combination of those 3 things are going to play out against the new reality, which is Bitcoin is the only digital commodity. It is the only crypto asset. There is no second best crypto asset.
So we kicked this off yesterday morning talking about the race to avoid the war, which I thought was kind of a parallel framing to the speech that you gave last month for the Atlas Society Gala. And I loved your line, I've been repeating it nonstop since, about you don't want to be a martyr, you want to be a winner. And I wondered if you could just, in your own words, elaborate a little bit about what you mean by that.
Well, it started out with a discussion of Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged, and the theme of the book is the system is rigged, overregulated, you can work as hard as you want, but at the end of the day, you can't succeed, and the solution is go on strike and withdraw from the economy to Galt's Gulch. And John Galt's solution is you should withdraw your labor from a corrupt economy. And the observation I made is that Satoshi is like John Galt, except a better engineer. Because John Galt's solution was it's rigged, go start your own economy in a valley. And Satoshi's solution was, his observation was you're working as hard as you can for a currency that's being consistently debased by someone behind that curtain. And if you work your entire life and you make every sacrifice, they can still take everything you've done from you in 12 months if they wish to just turn the dial to the left hard enough. And once you realize that, you realize that there's no point in playing a game that is rigged. But on the other hand, going on strike and waging a full frontal attack on the game that is rigged is just making yourself a martyr. There are a lot of things that I disagree with in this world, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that you look at and disagree with in this world, but I have the humility to know that I can't change those things through a full frontal attack. I can just become a puddle of blood in front of the tank or in front of the wall. Satoshi gave us a place where we could win and a strategy we could win, and the strategy is withdraw your economic energy from the currency, which is the rigged system, and move it into a currency which is to your benefit. Not only do you move your energy into a system that isn't continually bleeding you, but it also turns out that not only is Bitcoin not an inflationary currency, Bitcoin is a deflationary currency which is viral and getting stronger. When you work as hard as you can and you sacrifice everything you have in order to support a weak currency that's collapsing, you just service the regime. And when you put it into a semi-weak currency, slowly weakening, right, you still just surrender your hope and your future. When you put it into a deflationary currency, a currency that gets stronger as more people join, not only do you stop feeding the corrupt system, but you begin to strengthen the virtuous system. And Bitcoin gets stronger as more people join. Bitcoin gets stronger as you put more money into it. But Bitcoin also gets stronger as you put more creativity or innovation. Every single developer that builds a Lightning app or builds a new improvement to Bitcoin makes the network stronger. Every communicator and every creator, every time you create you see me, I share tips videos. They're wonderful. Tip if you're in the audience. I love them. I share the crypto couples videos. They're wonderful. I love them. I share some of your memes. I laugh at all your memes, but there's only some of them I can share. But when you create something of beauty that's compelling, that's communicative, you're making Bitcoin better, you're making the world a better place, we're reaching a new audience. And when you're working behind the scenes, if you work for a regulator or a policymaker, or I meet people that are working at a bank. I met some people the other day. They said, we're at a bank, we're believers, and we're going to get our bank into Bitcoin. Tell us what to do. And I said, well, here's my experience. Thank you for helping. Every single person that puts their vocational skill into this network makes it stronger. When you put your balance sheet in the network, you make it stronger. When you put your passion into the network, you make it stronger. When you bring your organization to the network, you make it stronger. And this thing you know that it's only going to get stronger, faster, smarter over time. You also know that there's never going to be more than 21 million, but you also know that over time there's going to be less than 21 million. And a point I made to Natalie this morning in another interview is I said, the really amazing thing about Bitcoin is Bitcoin has in essence not just decentralized money, it is not just provided sovereignty and given property rights to the individual, it's also decentralized charity and it's privatized virtue. And that I mean it this way, if you put all of your money on a boat and it was Bitcoin and it sunk and you died with your private keys, you've just made a contribution to the rest of the network. Right? If you want to do good for the civilization, you don't have to find a charity. You don't have to give all your money to a foundation of do-gooders that are going to give it to someone, that you don't have to give it to Greenpeace or the Sierra Club or the Gates Foundation, right? 3 of my favorites. You don't have to give it to anybody. You don't have to put up with virtue signalers that badger you to death, that say you're not a good person if you don't give all your money away. The truth is, you can self-custody your money, and on your deathbed, you can gift it to whatever cause you want. And the default, if you don't have a better idea, is you die with your private keys in your head, and you gift it pro rata, fairly and equitably, to every other person that got you to where you were.
This was fun. This was great. we're done, guys. Michael, thank you so much. Really, thanks for coming out.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, let's win.